Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching this ag forecast for South America, brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. I'd like to start off with a paper that was published in the journal Nature. Now, the title of the paper was about shutting down the South American summer monsoon, and it was actually about other things, okay, longer term things. But what I'd like to show you is one of the figures in it. It's this figure right here. So if you're unfamiliar with how this monsoon works, it's really got a couple of components to it. The moisture is coming from something called the ITCZ, the Intertropical Convergence Zone. And what happens is when the monsoon begins, there's a circulation that sets up right in through here. And that's the direction the monsoon tends to flow, right around this. In fact, that stands for South American Summer Monsoon. Now, the color shading is in millimeters of rain per day. And what happens is on the tail end of this, it runs up against the higher elevation here. Okay, there's a ridge here. And then there are fronts that come up from the south. Remember, we're in the southern hemisphere for those of you that are watching this in North America. And those cold fronts, they collide right into this area. And that's how we get rain to our southern parts of our growing area. But this monsoon is persistent, and it shows up every day and produces quite a bit of heavy but scattered rainfall. A normal week, as we get into like December, January, February, is to give them 3 to 4 inches of rain a week. I'm talking like 100 millimeters to some places up to 200 millimeters of rainfall in a week's time period. So what we watch for very carefully is anything that slows down that motion, or if there's less moisture coming from the ITCZ, or fewer fronts coming up from the south through Argentina. So that is the bulk of weather forecasting in South America during the growing season. If I could make it simple, that's what it is. So I went back and I reconstructed for October, November. That's what ON stands for here. Total precipitation anomalies. So we're comparing this to normal, looking back from 1950 to present. And as you do that, I just want you to remember I'm doing this right over Mato Grosso and Mato Grosso do Sul. And you can see that 2020 was the driest on record. So we all remember the late start to planting last year. But I went and plucked off all of these years that were well below the climatological average. And I wanted to see if there was anything unique about them. So we're going to look at it in two different ways here. We're going to start first with where the best rising motion was. So this is velocity potential. Remember, I often use this to identify where the MJO is. In this particular case, in October and November, when there is a lot of subsidence over MJO phases 4 and 5 and 6, and a lot of rising motion over MJO phases 1 or even phase 8, that tends to suppress the monsoon here. You see how the wave kind of sets up? This is a big kind of breathing mechanism for the whole of the atmosphere. So we're going to watch out for that. Secondly, we're also going to pay close attention to the anomalous winds. Now, I know I'm giving you this whole global view. Let your eyes adjust. Here's South America. In October and November, when the rains don't come in, do you see the anomalous direction the winds go? They go in that direction. That is the opposite flow of the normal monsoon. Remember, it comes off of the ITCZ and then down like this. So we're going to watch for anomalously weak or even a reversed circulation in this area. That's the key. My next several videos will be watching for those things. What do we have right now? Well, in terms of the MJO, the best rising motion is over the Indian Ocean, phases 2, 3, and 4. That's not out of whack for making South America super dry, in Brazil specifically. You notice if we scroll down here and look at where the rising motion is located, well, what we notice is that, days 6 through 10, there's rising motion here, and we don't see major suppression. See that? That's not sitting there, and that's part of the difference. So given that, plus our sea surface temperatures, which we're continuing to build a La Nina here, this La Nina is not a factor yet for South America. It will be in summer, but not right now. And remember, La Nina's developing don't tend to make it don't tend to make it dry north. They tend to make it dry south and in Argentina as well. So let's think about all of that. Over the last 30 days, let's shrink that up so you can see it again. We've been drier in the interior and in the east. We've had more rain in the Amazon, and there's been these fronts that have been hitting from Buenos Aires to Cordoba, through Uruguay and Rio Grande do Sul. And we're going to see here that over the next 10 days, another frontal boundary is going to stall in this area, providing heavy rain. But where we typically plant this time of year, and they'll get the green light to plant on the 15th, we do see drier than normal conditions. It's wetter closer to the Amazon and wetter to the south. And there's suppressing motion here, which you saw, but fronts coming through. I'll show it to you here. This is what we've got from the latest update from the European model. You see that through the middle and end of this week, that frontal boundary slides farther and farther north. Watch it again. I'll go back and forth. Through the end of our week, getting into the weekend, that's what we see. Outside of that, much of this area, not much. It's going to be drier. Working our way out towards Sunday now and into Monday. There's another weak front that comes through here. But you do not see the full establishment of the monsoon just yet. It's not quite there yet. We got to wait on it. And that's what we're going to continue to do. Where all the fronts collide is down here. There's a very active storm track farther to the south. That's part of what we call the southern annular mode. It's also part of what we call the Antarctic oscillation. But that's what's producing the fronts in this area. We're waiting on the monsoon to begin here. So total precip, watch, I'll just add it up for you. Through the end of this week, now getting into the weekend, there's the weekend, and all the way out, I'll just take it to 240 hours. That's okay. We're wet in the Amazon and in this section of Mato Grosso, where we could add 40 to 60 millimeters of rain. But here, in this main growing area, which I'm highlighting, we're not expecting much. Very wet in the south, but that's not the place where we plant first in the south. Okay? From there, what are the temperatures doing? Overall, we are milder. Let's shrink that up. Sorry, there we go. We are milder here, but cooler over the Amazon and cooler to the south. That's the next 5 days. And then day 5 through 10 sees a very similar pattern. But we're not yet into those temperature stress months. So that's where we're going to just take a quick look at these temperatures. The last thing I want to share with you is this. This is the mid-September, so the September 15th to October 15th precip pattern. We see that the models favor drier here, and they favor drier to the south as well. Wet over Santa Catarina. Wetter, possibly, in Brazil's far eastern growing areas. But if I play this out, let's just go out here. How about let's do the 21st of September to the 22nd of October. Do we return enough rain here to not slow the progress of planting? At this point, this is not a dry enough anomaly to say that that's going to occur. Where I'm worried about drying out in October is farther to the south. The models have been consistent about that. So we could have a temporary delay in planting, but it is not going to last too long. It appears that we're going to fill in this area. But I will always watch these model trends carefully. You now know what I'm watching physically in the atmosphere to change. And if we see the MJO shift, if I see a weakening of the monsoonal winds, then we've got something to talk about. I'll make sure that you hear it from me first, okay? I appreciate your attention. Have a good rest of your week, and we'll talk to you again on Thursday. Thanks.